All right. Good afternoon and happy Friday, all you magnificent melon heads of the world. It's my favorite time of the week, my Friday afternoon live stream where we get to wrap up the week. And man, what a week has it been. And you know what? If you look in my Twitter DMs today, or if you listen to my Twitter DMs today, you know what you're going to hear in there? It's a whole bunch of this in my Twitter DMs today. That's what we got in my Twitter DMs. Where are you guys? All the people who DM me every day, Nvidia stock is up. Surprisingly quiet in there today. Probably because the chip stocks just ended the worst week they've had since the beginning of the AI Mania. Semiconductor ETF is way down. Nvidia is way down. And two names in particular this week. Really rough week for them. Those two are ARM Holdings and Supermicro Computer. Both of those down big. Supermicro down over 20% today alone. ARM Holdings down double-digit percentages 2 days this week. Nvidia is down almost 10% today. I don't know what it is as of the making this. Is it going to rally in the close maybe, or the sell-off intensifies? I don't know, but it's the worst week since January of 2022 for semiconductor stocks. So the question is this the needle popping the AI bubble, the AI mania? Is that bubble bursting? Or is this just another dip that's going to be bought up by people who have no clue what they're buying? Time will tell. We've seen big dips before, only to have Nvidia earnings come out and blow away expectations. Well, it's real easy when you give money to your customers for them to spend at your store. They're going to spend the money at your store. It's not authentic. It's borderline legal. But we've seen it before. Maybe that happens again, and maybe we get a whole other iteration of this nonsense. Maybe Nvidia stock breaks over 1,000. Maybe it goes to 1,500, or maybe this is it. Maybe people are finally starting to ask questions and say, what are we really paying for? Maybe what they're saying, maybe we're not going to need $2 quadrillion to buy GPUs. Maybe everybody's not going to have a server farm in their basement, and we're not going to build 500 nuclear power plants by 2030 to power all these data centers. Maybe, just maybe, everybody got a little too excited. Right? Now, let's reel myself in a little bit here, right? When I made my first video about Nvidia and CoreWeave, Nvidia stock was about $500. Nvidia stock right now is what, around $800? Did it break below 800 maybe? So Nvidia is still way up since I started running my big mouth about some of the shenanigans going on in the creative accounting at Nvidia and between Nvidia and their customers. So, the AI bros, the Nvidia bulls, they're still up in this whole thing. They're still up big. So, to sit here and like victory lap, that's not what this is, all right? Because I still got egg all over my face. I've been saying this since Nvidia was a $500 stock. It almost hit 1,000. All right, so the stock has almost doubled while I've been trying to warn about this. But you know what? Speculative manias, they're funny like that. The numbers keep going up. There's no telling where it's going to stop, but we know where they end. Way, way down. And Nvidia stock has done this before. Nvidia has sold off 50 to 80% before. It's happened in the early 2000s. It happened in 2018. And I think it's going to happen again this time. But only time will tell. Also going on today, we had Meta announced a new AI tool. And to be honest with you guys, it's pretty good. And look, I'm not unbiased. I am very much biased when it comes to artificial intelligence. But I'm biased negative. And I actually spent a little bit of time using Meta's new AI tool today, and it wasn't half bad. I mean, every single second I have spent on Adobe Firefly has been wasted time. I got nothing out of it. You ask Adobe Firefly to give you an image of a spaceship heading to the moon, and it shows you something that looks more like a potato that was painted by Picasso while high on LSD. All right, so Adobe Firefly is freaking worthless. ChatGPT is okay, although it gives you different answers to the same question sometimes. But the Meta AI tool, it actually wasn't too bad. It gave me useful images. I checked it for some of the biases and some of the criticisms that AI tools have gotten recently, and it actually passed all those tests. So, it's at least they're showing a little bit of improvement here. Now, look, I'm very skeptical of Meta. I don't like the company. I don't like what they do, especially to little girls. I'm a father. I have 2 daughters. So, Hey, I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg is very excited by the prospect of being able to damage the psyche of young girls on a scale that they never thought possible. But for now, Meta's AI tool actually looks pretty good. But again, that's just me based on a half hour of using it. So there's a lot going on in the world of AI today. Why don't we shrink my big melon of a head and let's say hi to my man, Mish the Mod, who is live from the Republic of Georgia. Mish, how we doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, man. About to go to Moldova. Hey, do you know what? The Earth is 80% water, and none of it is carbonated. That means the Earth is flat.
Wait, hold on. Where is it? There we go. 80% water, and none of it is carbonated. Well, what about all this carbon talk and all this climate? You'd think some of the ocean would be carbonated by now. Where's my fizzy Black Sea? So be safe in your travels. You're in Georgia. You're bound for Moldova next. I asked before we went live, and no, Mish is not a CIA operative. Although I don't know that they advertise that. Do you get this? Do you guys at the CIA, Mish? Do you wear shirts that say CIA on them?
No, maybe typically some of the FBI confuses people.
Yeah. Maybe it writes clandestine on the arm or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just I'm always looking out for new merchandising opportunities. You know me, yay capitalism. Well, have safe travels, brother. If we don't get a chance to wish you a safe flight and enjoy your flight to Moldova. And well, let's see what's going on in the market right now, because the stocks today are pretty much at their lows of the day. The S&P is down 46 points, about 0.92% down on the day. Let's take a look at the week the S&P has had. We are looking at 6 days down in a row here for the S&P. Due for a little bit of a bounce, but it's not coming today. And also important to point out here, the S&P lost its 50-day moving average late last week, and it has not looked back ever since. We're still heading sharply lower here. This red line here, the horizontal line, that is the all-time high from back in 2021. We broke above that a few months ago. And then the other red line down here, that's your 200-day moving average. So support for the S&P here. If we keep selling off, we're looking at somewhere around 4,800. We might bump into support 4,820. If that doesn't hold, we're heading down around 4,600 on the S&P. So it's been a rough week for stocks here. Interest rates have been rising. The dollar has been strengthening, and stocks have been selling off. Meanwhile, metals rally. Let's see. The Dow is up actually today, 162.5 points. What were the companies in the Dow that were doing pretty well? I think Procter & Gamble had a pretty good day. Things just looking pretty good in the Dow. Maybe a rotation back into value from the high-flying tech names. It's possible. You see that sometimes when inflation fears heat up, people tend to sell off the high multiple stocks and look for something more like a dividend player. So maybe that explains the rotation from the NASDAQ into the Dow here. The NASDAQ, though, just off the lows of the day, 15,279 on the NASDAQ. That is down 323 points, or 2% lower. Bad day for the NASDAQ. And we got a similar looking chart to that S&P one. Again, guys, we lost the 50-day moving average at the beginning of this week. Selling off hard here. Looks like we are heading, well, we never quite recaptured that all-time high. We were above it for a couple of days. But right now, we are bound for that 200-day moving average. Maybe we catch a bounce here around 15,150. If not, we are heading to about 14.5 in the 200-day moving average there. So rough week for the NASDAQ. It's due to catch a bounce here, though. Meanwhile, the dollar is pretty much unchanged on the day, 106.14, down 1 basis point. Not a lot of move in the dollar today. And the bond market, we got yields are a little bit lower, so there's a little bit of appetite for bonds here. The 30-year Treasury, 4.711%. That's down 3.5 basis points today. The 10-year yield, 4.619. That's down 3 basis points. Just a reminder, guys, you see yields going lower. That's bond prices going higher. The 2-year Treasury, 4.975, down 1.5 points. And the 1 month at 5.394. That's actually up a point. And in the commodities board, we have got gold higher by 0.5%, $10.90 higher for June gold futures at 2,408. Spot gold, though, still struggling to recapture that 2,400 level. May silver futures at 28.82. That's up 44 cents, or 1.5% today. And spot silver at 28.76 here. Let's look to that silver chart. And there's that red line around 28.30. I've been pointing that one out every morning on my live streams. Nice move above that one today. Is it a breakout? we close above that. We close up here for the week. I'm going to go ahead and call that a breakout. I have not tried to make any trades around silver just yet, but if we stay up here above this 28 line for much longer, I think I probably will. Like just pointed out, guys, if we do break above this, let's set this to 1 month candles. And you can see here right now, we're right around the levels we were at the top of the silver squeeze. We're actually higher than we were to close out the month during the silver squeeze months. Now, if we zoom all the way out, if we break above this red line, now we're talking the all-time highs are back in play here, going all the way back to, what was that, 2011, when we had that big run up to almost $50. And of course, the Hunt brothers back in 1980, around 47. And look, gold is making all-time highs here. Silver is still barely half of its all-time high. So silver's got a lot of room to run if we break above these levels. I love the look of this chart here. Let's put this back on the dailies. Hopefully we are about to see that breakout. Now, I just want to say thank you to a couple of people. Wow, you guys are going crazy today. Thank you, Darren from Suffolk, who says Nvidia trading like the penny stock it is. Well, let me just say, Nvidia, that's by market cap, I think the third largest company in the world. And it kind of is trading like a penny stock, Darren. I mean, today down almost 10%. You're talking $200 billion of market cap evaporated in just Nvidia today. All right, that's bigger than all but, I don't know, what, maybe there's 20 companies in the world that have a $200 billion market cap or more. Might even be less than that. I haven't counted. But that's a huge amount of value, the amount of volatility there. And you're right, it is trading like a penny stock. And I wonder how much of this is derivatives in play. How much of this is just being gamma squeezed higher? Just all these guys YOLOing in the call options or selling their zero data expiration puts, thinking that they're, making money. Those trades could blow up in their face if the volatility ever comes back in the markets like it's doing right now. So we'll see how this trades into close. But, you're right. $2 trillion companies probably shouldn't trade like penny stocks. I'm just going to throw that one out there. Very insightful from Mr. Darren from Suffolk. Thank you, sir, for the super chat, the support of the channel. And Nashville Pasta Man is saying 962 down to 770. I mean, you're kind of making Darren's point there, Nashville, right? That's a $2 trillion company or a $2.5 trillion company shouldn't move like that. Well, speculative manias are funny like that. They make these big moves. Guys, volatility usually marks the top, and we are volatile today. Thank you, Pasta Man. I appreciate the super chat, sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar. And thank you to the inflation situation. This is great work, Jack and team. Food for thought. Mike McGlone at Bloomberg says U.S. equities and oil are highly correlated. Makes sense. He was calling for 65-ish if the market rolls over. Just a potential trade idea. Well, I don't know about the $65 price target. I haven't studied the oil chart, and it's been a while since I really looked hard at the oil chart, the inflation situation. Can I call you Tiss? It'll save time, Tiss. The thing is, one thing I've learned this week or in the last few weeks when it comes to oil, demand destruction is way more powerful when it comes to price than the prospect of supply disruptions, right? Think about how many missiles we have seen flying in the Middle East in the last couple of months, and yet the oil price is trading sideways for the last month and a half or so. I mean, Iran directly bombing Israel bombing them in return, and oil is down. Now, think about where we were. What was it? Sunday night was when the Israeli bombardment hit or the Iranian bombardment hit Israel. How many people would have guessed that oil would be lower here a week later after that started? And yet here we are. So, I would say the 65-ish target, it's possible because demand destruction is definitely in the driver's seat. And right now the market is not responding to supply disruption. That the CapEx issue in the United States is still a big issue. The United States has underinvested in the oil space, tragically underinvested in the oil space for a couple of years now. The shale oil boom is pretty much played out. That's starting to taper off. I don't think that supply is going to be there much longer. It's going to start to taper off, which means you're probably going to see booms in things like ocean drilling and all the wonderful things that come along with that. So oil's tough here, but I would say if I had to guess, I'm leaning towards demand destruction here. Although, you got retail spending is still up there, the inflation problem coming back. Go ahead, Mesh. I see you trying to jump in.
Yeah, two counterpoints real quick. One is if oil ever went under 70 again, OPEC will come back out and do cuts again. They're not going to allow it to go below 70. I've heard that they need to keep it above like 65, 67 just to pay bills. So they're not going to let it go a lot lower. Plus, right now, even though our rigs are really low, we're still exporting the most oil we ever have. In fact, we're number one in the export business right now. That's going to change over the next 2 years, but currently we're pumping like 13.3 million a day exporting it.
Wow, we're number one in the export, more than Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, by almost 1 million barrels a day. We took that over about 3 months ago, and it's all these high capacity wells we have right now, which is why they let the well count come down so much, because they're just overproducing, and that can't last forever, right? A well has what, a 5-year life expectancy to it. So if we're not continuously updating it, at some point we're going to hit that trough, and it's just going to go flunk.
You know, one other thing to consider, guys, is we haven't seen too much in the last week or so, but right up until about last week, there was a lot of stories about the Ukrainians hitting Russian oil refineries. And most people don't realize that that would actually have downward pressure on oil prices, because refineries are consumers of oil. They produce gasoline, but they consume oil. So if the Ukrainians were to continue hitting Russian oil refineries, oil from Russia has fewer places to go, which means it starts stacking up, which means it puts downward pressure on prices. It might put upward pressure on gasoline, but it would actually put downward pressure on oil prices. So that's another thing, another trend going on in the market there. And Mish, to your point, that $65 price target, I think that floor probably has a lot to do with that break-even point that the Saudis want. And I think that's probably why that's the downside limit there, because we haven't gone much lower than that for the last year or two, have we? That's pretty much been where OPEC steps in and cuts. Good stuff from the inflation situation. Thank you, sir. And thank you to Tanisha for the super sticker. I appreciate that very much. It doesn't show up on StreamYard, but it is. Where is it? Oh, it's in here somewhere. Where's Tanisha's super sticker? What is that, a flying melon? Is that like super melon? It shows up on YouTube. Thank you, Tanisha. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. And Ewok Jerky, that name cracks me up every time. Yub Yub, or Nub Nub, Ewok Jerky. Soda Springs Geyser is an artesian well drilled into the carbonated aquifer that lies beneath Soda Springs, Idaho. I don't know how to respond to
the carbonated water.
I get the carbonated thing. I'm assuming that is hyperbole and that is not an actual thing. Can somebody Google check me there? Thing. There really is a carbonated aquifer called Soda Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Soda coming up out of the ground. So all you got to do is sit there and pour sugar into it, and you pretty much got a natural soda factory, huh?
Yeah, put a little lime in there. You got Sprite.
All right. All right. Wow. Thank you, Ewok Jerky. I learned something today. God, the stuff you guys come up with. And I'm still cracking up over the name, Ewok Jerky. I love it. And thank you, M&J, for gifting 10 Nobody Special Finance memberships. If you guys are the recipient of one of those Nobody Special Finance memberships, be sure and say thank you to M&J in the comments. Thank you, M&J. Appreciate that very much. And thank you to all my other Melonhead members while we're on the subject. I appreciate that, guys. And thanks, Honey Badger, for being a member. He says, markets preparing for fireworks this weekend. You know, it's possible. I'll be honest with you, Honey Badger. I think the markets are kind of bored with the whole Israel-Palestine thing. And that's not meant in any way to downplay the human cost of what's going on in Gaza or Israel for that matter. There is suffering on both sides. But as far as the back and forth between Israel and Iran, you know, myself included, I think the whole world is just bored with it. Like, what the hell, guys? Either fight or don't. You know, this scripted narrative, I was talking about it this morning, telling them what you're going to hit, waiting until markets are closed or wait until the weekend to fire your missiles. And then, okay, as soon as the missiles are launched, they haven't even landed yet. And the diplomats are like, we're done here. Don't shoot back. What's the point of any of this stuff? Sit down and talk already. It's so stupid. I don't know. Pick your champion. Let's have a boxing match. One Israeli versus one Iranians. The winner gets Southern Lebanon. I don't know. Like just thinking outside. Trial by combat. I'm just thinking outside the box here, guys. Our current method isn't really working. But we are trading near the low of the days here, Honey Badger. So to your point, it is possible there's some positioning not knowing the uncertainty heading into the weekends. And the run in metals here would support that. So thank you, Honey Badger. Appreciate you supporting the channel as a Nobody Special Finance member. Appreciate that very much. All right, let's move on a little bit, shall we? Let's talk about this one. Bob Coleman, shout out to @ProfitsPlusID on Twitter. He put this one out speaking about silver. CME has just raised the margin requirements on gold and silver futures. It seems Mr. Slammy is up to his old tricks, jacking up margin requirements. That's one of the things they did to stop the silver squeeze dead in its tracks back on February 1st of 2021. They did it again today. They did it right at the same price level. But guess what? It didn't work today. Price of silver is up. Let's change this to hourly candles here. When was it? It was about 4 or 5 hours ago. Bob posted this at noon. And, well, here we are. Silver is higher than it was when that was posted. So if this jacking up of margin requirements was meant to stop the rally in silver, it ain't working. So that's another tick in the bull column for silver prices from here. Shout out to Bob Coleman. Again, thank you for everything you do, Bob. Follow Profits Plus ID on Twitter if you don't already. And Bitcoin is up again. It's up $735 today, trading at 64,244. No big movement in Bitcoin. I guess we sold off last night. Most of this wick was down last night. Bitcoin is trading like a tech stock here, guys. That's kind of interesting to see that. It's very volatile. It's more prone to the Middle East violence than oil prices pretty much at this point. It tells me there's probably a lot of leverage involved here. Maybe market makers doing a little stop loss hunting. So if you're buying crypto on leverage, just be careful. That's too rich for my blood. I can tell you that. Because it's very easy for these market makers to engineer a multi-$1,000 decline, trigger your stop losses, trigger your margin calls, buy up your Bitcoin on the cheap, and then let the price bid right back up. So keep an eye out for that. Be careful on margin as always. And we are just 5 hours and 47 minutes away from the next Bitcoin halving. It's not going to be an all-at-once thing. It's not going to be a spontaneous rocket launch, but these are very big events in the Bitcoin world. It's only happened 3 times before. Check out what the price of Bitcoin has done during the last 3. There's a big asterisk this time, though. Bitcoin ETFs. That's a new variable in that equation that we didn't have during the last 3 halving events. But it's going to be an exciting next couple of months, guys. Don't be too surprised. I'm probably going to catch a lot of heat from this in the comments. I think by the end of this year, Bitcoin easily above $100,000. Easily.
Well, speaking of Bitcoin bros, do you see the flooding in Dubai over the last couple of days?
I did, yes. What do you think? Cloud seeding or it just rained?
Both. I mean, it's a desert, but it still rains pretty good over there because the Gulf is so hot. So you do get rains, but yeah, they do seed, and it does work. So they may have had already had a pretty good moisture, and then they seeded on top of it. It'll do it.
Yeah, I put that one out on Twitter the other day. Who had man-made floods in the MF desert on their 2020s bingo card? I don't know if it was man-made. It just sounded funnier when you put it that way. But a flood in the desert, how very 2020s. And, there's pictures. It's like raining in people's apartments because it's in the desert. It's not like they spent a lot of time waterproofing the buildings there. Just one of those things, man, 2020s. But, hey, to my buddy Thomas Stray out there, the money launderer for Hyperscale Nexus, I hope you're staying dry, high and dry in Dubai. Very sorry to hear that merger fell apart between Hyperscale Nexus and American Cannabis Company. I was looking forward. That was going to be fertile ground for future live streams and videos. But alas, that marriage was never meant to be. I'm not really sure what hyperscaling data centers and cannabis cultivation have in common, but good luck with future ventures. All right, let's talk about some of these names here. Look at the moves in some of these names. The biggest one today, Supermicro Computer, trading at $717, down $211, almost 23% lower today on no news. Well, there was news. They announced the date of their earnings call. That was the news today. They didn't announce their earnings, just they announced the date of their earnings call. Now, historically, Supermicro, the last few quarters, when they've announced the date of their earnings call, they've also pre-announced that their earnings were going to be really good. Like they raised their guidance while they make the announcement. They didn't do that today. And so I guess a lot of these AI bros interpreted that lack of a pre-announced good news as a lack of good news entirely, and they started selling the stock, and now it's down almost 23% here. Now, it's not just today, though. Look at a 5-day chart here. Okay. For Supermicro, it was pretty much flat. It was actually up on the week right up until yesterday. So the entirety of Supermicro's losses were all today. But Supermicro is not the only AI name that's selling off. Check out ARM Holdings, down 17% today on no news. There's no news for ARM Holdings today. This one's down $17.69, trading at 87.18. Now, this is the second day this week that ARM Holdings was down double-digit percentages. Look at a 5-day chart. ARM started the week at $125.58, and now it's at 87.01. I mean, let's just look. 87, we'll say, okay, 09 over, what did I say? 125.58. That's down 31% this week, ARM Holdings, on zero news. Guys, $100 billion companies aren't supposed to drop 30% on no news. Not supposed to work that way. Right? No earnings, no mergers fell apart, no executives left, down 30% in a week. Think maybe there might be something up in AIville? You wonder. Again, you look at my Twitter DMs today. Oh, hold on. You guys are quiet. Where's all the AI bros and all the better watch your back and karma's a bitch, all that stuff that I get in my Twitter DMs all the time? Where are you guys today? Very quiet. Strange. And of course, the darling of the AI Mania, Nvidia. And there they are, down over 10%, trading at the low of the day. We still got 18 minutes of trading left today. So where are we going to close at? I don't know. Guys, this is a $2 trillion company, and it's down 10% today. $2 trillion companies are not supposed to lose $200 billion in market cap in one day on no news. You think maybe there's a little bit of dirtbaggery afoot, maybe a little bit of, I don't know, manipulations and derivatives, and I hear SoftBank a lot. Think maybe there's something going on behind the scenes here when a company this big sells off this much on nothing? It's Friday. Nothing happened. Why is Nvidia selling off 10%? Why is Supermicro selling off 20%? I don't know, man. Somebody, M&J saying, where's the dirtbaggery merch? I don't know. How do you put dirtbaggery on a t-shirt? I'll figure something out, M&J. Ask and you shall receive. And then, of course, this one, guys, this is the VanEck Semiconductor ETF, or SMH. If you're looking for a way to play the semiconductor industry without trying to pick a stock, this is the one you would pick for semis. And even this one down 4.75% today. If you look on a 5-day chart, SMH started the week at 224, currently at 198. So the whole semiconductor industry is down 10% this week. That is a big move for an ETF, for an industry ETF to make, again, on essentially no news. I mean, well, no, it wasn't a no news. We had ASML earnings to start the week, right? That's ASML makes semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Their earnings were not good. Then we had Taiwan Semiconductor earnings a day later. Their earnings were actually pretty good. They had like 20% year-over-year revenue growth. So, you know, those two kind of cancel each other out, the ASML and then the Taiwan Semi earnings. And then there was nothing else really. So why is this industry down 10% here other than it just ran too far too fast? And now this is the chart that really goes to show you how bad this sell-off in semis was this week. Now we're looking at weekly candles here. And this is going all the way back to September of 2021. All right, here's this week. Look at that big red candle. All right, this is the chart of SMH, that same semiconductor ETF, down 9.8% on the week here. To find a week on a percentage basis where they lost that much, you've got to go all the way back here to the third week of January 2022, where it was down 11.4%. And you guys recall January of 2022, that was the start of that massive sell-off in stocks, namely tech stocks, right? That was the big 2022 sell-off on the inflation fears that didn't bottom out until, well, pretty much October, November of 2022. The whole reason this sell-off ended was because AI Mania began right here in the third week of November. There is the beginning of AI Mania, which is what broke out of this downward channel in the 2022 sell-off. And now here we are, the biggest single week sell-off since the start of this big sell-off. And that's why I got to ask, is this the AI bubble bursting? I don't think so. Bubbles don't burst on no news. There's got to be a triggering event. And I don't think the Israel-Iran thing was the triggering event here. So I'm gonna say no, this isn't the bubble bursting, not without Nvidia like guiding low or not without some big fraud breaking. So I'm leaning towards this is not the bursting of the bubble. We'll probably get a bounce here. And who knows what Nvidia is going to report when they report. All right. Once sketchy accounting is involved, there's no telling how big they'll make the numbers before finally somebody decides, oh, by the way, we've been round tripping our cash and, finally the numbers got too big. We can't keep this up anymore. And then the stock sells off 50%. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Is this the pin bursting the bubble, or is this just another dip that the AI bros are going to buy up and onward and upward we go? I don't know, but that's a pretty big red candle there. And I would just point out, guys, let's see let's look at set this back to daily candles. Nope, we lost the 50-day moving average for SMH, and the 200-day moving average is 171, a lot lower from here. So semiconductor stocks not looking so good here. Also, a name to keep an eye on, SoftBank, ticker SFTBY. All right, SoftBank is a major shareholder in all of those names that I just listed. SoftBank owns a big chunk of Supermicro, they own like 90% of the shares in ARM Holdings. So if you want to know why is ARM Holdings selling off, why did they sell off double-digit percentages 2 days this week? The first place you want to look is the company that owns 90% of those shares. And then you got to ask, why is SoftBank liquidating those shares? SoftBank also owns a bunch of Supermicro, and they also own a bunch of Nvidia. So SoftBank is not doing too good here. They've been beaten up this week. And, guys, there's a lot going on. SoftBank is a Japanese company. I hear things that they're very highly leveraged, that they haven't quite hedged their currency exposure. The dollar and the yen are all over the place right now. And every time I think of SoftBank, I can't help but just think, come on, do an Archegos. Anyway, somebody want to check in on Masa's son, do a wellness check, knock on his door, poke him with a stick, make sure his ticker is still ticking over there, because I think it's probably been a pretty rough week over at SoftBank. And by the way, SoftBank that's a private equity company. It's a holding company. It's not a bank. They just call themselves bank, I guess, because they think it sounds cool. And I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Dan Henderson. What's going on? Dan Hedin. I'm sorry, Dan. I knew your last name, Dan. It just looked like Henderson for a second. He says, happy Friday, Jack. Soon something is going to happen in the auto industry. Moves being made behind the scenes. All right. Dan, being an insider in the auto industry himself, I could tell you, Dan, those Ally Financial numbers this week did not say good things about the auto industry. I don't remember the exact number. It's been a few days since I reported Ally. Oh, here we go. Here's the notes right here. Their profits were down 56% year over year, Ally Financial. And their bread and butter, they are a lending company. They're a bank that they specialize in making loans to the auto industry. So if their profits are down 56%, that means they're not making very many auto loans. And then I got my boy Dan saying something's up in the auto industry. I'm hearing Tesla's recalling all the Cybertrucks, electric vehicle price cuts being made left and right, inventory at dealer lots rising, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Tough days for the auto industry. Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate the insight, sir, and the super chat and the support of the channel, as well as thank you for supporting the channel on Patreon as well. Just a reminder, guys, the links to all that good stuff down below. Thanks again, Dan. All right, let's move on from the SoftBank. And we talked about this one today, guys. Meta unveils chatbot to challenge ChatGPT, Gemini, and Bing. And it's not all going to be bad news for me. I know I'm a doomer. I know I got permabear written on my sleeve, but I got to say I tried this one out today, and it's not bad. Meta.ai wasn't that bad. I will tell you, Adobe's Firefly is freaking useless, and ChatGPT is useful at times. You got to check everything ChatGPT tells you, though. But Meta AI was really good today. Meta Platforms just raised the stakes a notch in the artificial intelligence chatbot wars. The parent of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger today launched the website Meta.ai, a new free-to-use standalone version of the company's Meta AI chatbot that will compete head-on with Gemini from Alphabet, Google, or Alphabet, that's the Google company, OpenAI's ChatGPT, and Microsoft's Bing, among others. In addition to natural language chat queries, Meta AI will have the ability to create both images and short animations. I use the images. I didn't use the animation feature, so I can't pass judgment there. And Meta says the updated version will produce images that are more consistent with user intent. While Meta AI is free to use, users who log in with their Facebook ID will have their queries stored in memory, making it easier to pick up on explorations started in previous sessions. And the company has no plans to sell ads or require a subscription for the site. So again, it was pretty good, guys. I'm going to be honest. And I am biased to the downside, if anything. So for me to sit here and tell you this tool was good, I don't know. I mean, you tell me. I'm kind of bearish artificial intelligence, aren't I? So also some meta news today. Apple removes WhatsApp and Threads from the App Store in China after an order from the government. So I guess the Chinese Communist Party doesn't like what's being said on WhatsApp and Threads. They call Apple, say, take it down from the store. And Apple, who always has plenty to say about social issues in America and loves to weigh in on politics here, very happily bends over backwards and takes an app down at the behest of the Chinese Communist Party just as soon as they ask, no questions asked. Meta stock is down 4.5% today. I think that's probably entirely driven by the WhatsApp and Threads being taken down over in China. Although Threads, I don't think Threads makes any money, but WhatsApp, that one hurts. So probably big to see that one going down. Now let's talk about this one. This one just came up. This was yesterday. This story broke. It's an extension of a story that started a few weeks ago, but this is another reason why I'm very bearish on artificial intelligence. AI startup Stability lays off 10% of staff after controversial CEO's exit. Read the full memo. Now, let me just say, Stability AI is one of the smaller startups. It's not a big company. They only had about 200 employees, all right? So 10% of staff getting laid off. We're talking about 20 jobs going away here. So the bursting of the bubble, 'tis not, all right? This is not the bursting of the AI bubble. But this is kind of what I've been warning about all along here. Beleaguered AI startup Stability is laying off employees after the exit of its controversial former CEO, Ahmad Mostak. Am I saying that right? We'll call him EM. Stability, which is behind the popular Stable Diffusion text-to-image model, made more than 20 of its employees redundant to right-size the business after a period of unsustainable growth, according to an internal memo obtained by CNBC. Now, this is where it gets kind of hilarious here. Last month, Stability announced its former CEO, Mostak, was leaving the company to pursue decentralized AI. He was run out by his investors, and would be replaced by Wang and Laforte. Oh, now they've got co-CEOs. Danger, danger. When you see a company that has co-CEOs, danger, danger. Do not invest. It's your money. Do what you want with it, folks. But I can tell you, I won't touch a company that has co-CEOs. That warning has never failed me. Mostak's departure follows media reports throwing doubt on his credentials. A June 2023 Forbes report said that Mostak had misled people, including his own investors, about receiving a master's degree from Oxford University, as well as the nature of a partnership with Amazon, which Stability characterized as a strategic deal, but was nothing more than a standard cloud computing leasing contract. Mostak's response at the time was that several of Forbes' allegations were false accusations and misrepresentations. He said he didn't receive his Oxford University degree because he didn't attend his graduation ceremony, but had arranged to receive his degree by post. All right, so got it right away. This is kind of my thing. The people who have been pumping AI, some of these guys are just total sleazeballs. Some of them are sketchy. Some of them are total sleazeballs. All right, Sam Altman, I would not trust Sam Altman at all. Everything that guy does gives me the creeps. This guy apparently lied about getting a degree from Oxford. And when he's called out on it, he says, oh, that's just because I didn't go to the graduation ceremony, but I told him to mail me my degree. That doesn't prove you went to Oxford. Anyway, this guy got run out by his investors. Now the company's laying off employees. But that follows this story from the beginning of the month on April 1st. And no, this was not a April Fool's article. Stability AI defaulted on payments to Amazon Web Services, owed Google Cloud and CoreWeave money. The troubled generative AI business owes millions to cloud companies. Generative AI intelligence company Stability AI failed to pay cloud providers last year as it struggled to bring in revenue to cover model development. Emphasize here, failed to pay their cloud providers because they failed to bring in revenue to cover their model development. In a lengthy profile on the downfall of ousted CEO Imad Mastik, Forbes reports that spiraling compute costs and mismanagement have caused chaos at the one-time industry darling. According to an internal October financial forecast seen by Forbes, Stability was on track to spend $99 million on compute in 2023, but it noted that Stability was underpaying AWS bills for July. This is going all the way back to July of last year. Before I made my first video on CoreWeave, this was happening. They were struggling to pay their AWS bills by $1 million and not planning to pay their AWS bill at the end of October for August usage. That was $7 million. There are also September and October Amazon bills alongside $1 million owed to Google Cloud and $600,000 to AI cloud data center company CoreWeave. It's not known how much the company currently owes. All right. There's a lot to unpack here. All right. So keep in mind the structure of what's been going on in the AI mania. You've had tons and tons of private equity money. Private investors have been piling into companies like Stability AI, companies like CoreWeave, companies like Imbue and Inflection. And then you've also had Amazon and Meta and Microsoft have also been pumping in hundreds of billions of dollars into AI, right? So all of this money has been going to pay for these GPUs that Nvidia sells. The money has not been coming from end users. It's been coming from investors, all right? They have been claiming that the end user demand will eventually materialize and make tons of money. And so all these investors are piling in to buy these chips and build these massive data centers. Now, my thesis the whole time, besides the round tripping and the sketchy nature of this, is if that end user demand doesn't materialize, then this whole industry will collapse like a beached whale. It will just be smothered by its own blubberous excess. And here we go. Here is an end user, Stability AI, is unable to generate enough revenue to pay their bills. And what is that bill? That bill is the Nvidia GPUs that they're using to train their large language model. They haven't made any money, so they haven't paid their bills for those GPUs, which means the companies that bought those GPUs aren't making money. Which means, are they going to keep buying GPUs? Now, this is one case here, one user, a trend it does not make. So I just want to call that out, right? I just got done telling you how good Meta's AI tool was. So Meta is an end user of their own GPUs. That's their business case. But Stability AI, they didn't pay their bills going all the way back to July of last year. All right. So all those GPUs that were bought, $35,000, $45,000 a piece that Stability AI has been using, have not generated revenue for their companies. And by the way, this is the second CoreWeave customer that has had issues in as many months. Remember last month, Inflection AI, who was a big CoreWeave customer, they basically got gobbled up by Microsoft. Microsoft hired away the founders and pretty much the whole company. And Inflection is out there now looking to sublease the cloud capacity that they've already bought and paid for. They asked CoreWeave for their money back. So that's two of CoreWeave's customers that have essentially gone belly up. They're both still in business, but they won't be for much longer. So the end user demand is yet to materialize, which means all these chips, all these GPUs, they're all being bought on spec. At some point, if the end user doesn't show up, then these hyperscalers like CoreWeave, which they're all going to go belly up. They're not going to have this $16 billion valuation that they're supposedly seeking right now. And let's talk about hyperscaler for a second. What is a hyperscaler really? You buy GPUs and you rent them out. That is the hyperscaler business model, right? They buy these $35,000, $45,000 GPUs. They buy hundreds of them, thousands of them. And then they build these giant data centers, massive buildings full of them. They pay for all the connecting hardware and servers and all these, Supermicro gets involved. They make all the connecting hardware and the motherboards for them. But really, what are they? They are GPU rental companies. That's what they do. They buy them and they rent them out by the hour. And hopefully, By the time that GPU dies, which is probably somewhere between 3 and 7 years lifespan for these things, hopefully they've rented out enough hours to pay for the GPUs, to pay for the power that they use, to pay for the labor costs and the rent of the building and everything, and make a profit. That hasn't been proven yet. That business model is unproven. All right. And they call themselves hyperscalers because they rent out GPUs. It's like these guys calling themselves hyperfloaters. It's the same business model. You buy something for a lot of money and you rent it out by the hour for a little bit of money. Or hyper paddlers, hyper kayakers. What do you want to call it? Hyperscalers. It's the same freaking business model. All right. Now that they'll throw around tech numbers, they'll talk about, we need quadrillions of dollars of compute. The demand is so amazing for our product. You buy the GPU and you rent it out. That's your business. That is eventually going to become a highly commoditized business. And these obscene valuations that these companies are seeking, they're not going to last longer. And again, guys, all this money, it's all coming from private equity. It's all coming from investors who hope that end user demand will materialize. And here's a case study right here, Stability AI, showing that end user demand will not materialize. Maybe I'm wrong, guys. Again, I have been wrong about this up until this point. I'll admit it. Nvidia stock was at $500 when I started saying this. Now, I mean, even after this big correction, what's Nvidia at right now? Nvidia stock is at 762. So it's still way up from when I started talking about this. Again, speculative manias are funny like that. But right now, Nvidia is down 10.00% today. And I just want to say thank you very much to Grandpa, who says Steve Majors is superior to Hulk and Bigfoot 100%. Steve Majors, is that the $6 million man?
Yeah. So what happened is someone asked me if I remember Harry and the Hendersons. I said, yeah, but $6 million man did a better Bigfoot.
Oh,
that's kind of where that came out of.
So we're comparing $6 million man to the Incredible Hulk TV show.
Yeah.
Well, Hulk is my favorite comic book character, so I got to admit I am highly partial to Hulk and Hulk Smash. And by the way, Paul Procacci, if you're listening, if you're out there, Thor sucks. Let me just tell you, Thor sucks. Paul Procacci, the former coworker. What were you going to say, Mitch?
Lou did a good job on the Hulk, but I just like the Bigfoot better. I just like Bigfoot better. Had a better storyline.
By the way, the Hulk fighting the grizzly bear, that was hilarious too. If you ever see that one from the old 70s TV show, Hulk fighting the bear, that was pretty good. Thank you very much, Grandpa, for the laugh and for the trip down memory lane. I love that old TV, man. All right, guys, the market's closed. Let's see where we ended the week at, shall we? S&P ended the week at 49.66, below 5,000, down 44 for the day, or 0.89% lower. The Dow closed below 38,000, 37,986. Oh, I'm sorry. It's up, though, just below 38,000, up 211 points. So the Dow had a good day. Again, there's that rotation out of tech and into value. NASDAQ, though, not so good, down 319 points. The big loser on the day, 2% lower. Again, that is entirely driven by the AI stocks. And let's just visit those one more time since the market's closed. Supermicro ended up closing the day down 23%. Wow, $214 to the downside, closing at the low of the day, and it's down even more after hours. Rough day for Supermicro. And again, guys, that is just on no news. All they did today was announce their earnings date. They didn't report anything, no big developments, down 23%. That's how fragile this top-heavy bubble is, that all they have to do is not say something awesome and the stock sells off 23%. ARM Holdings getting in on the action, also closing at the low of the day, down 16.9%, or down again after hours too. And Nvidia closing the day down 10% even, also down after hours, $761.09 for Nvidia, shedding over $200 billion of market cap in just one day. Amazing. And the VanEck SMH ETF is down 4.5%, also down after hours. Guys, it was a bloodbath for the AI Mania today. Just a terrible day all around. So let me know in the comments, is this it? Has the bubble popped? Or is this just another dip that the bros are going to come in? They're going to buy it up. You're going to have some liquidity come out of nowhere. Maybe SoftBank doing a little bit of a gamma squeeze. And up we go, and then Nvidia earnings come out, and they report quadrillions of dollars, and another 50,000 GPUs were bought by some guy, and rinse, repeat. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I don't know. Funny thing about speculative mania, guys, there's no telling how high they could top out at, but they all end the same way, the elevator down. Well, that's about all we got for you guys today. Mish, you got anything you want to throw in, brother, before we wrap this one up?
Yep. For those who celebrate 420, remember to put out milk and cookies for Snoop Dogg.
Happy 420 to everybody. It's tomorrow, or feel free. It's Friday night. If you want to celebrate early, have at the, it's that kind of day. And yes, live out. What is it? Is it milk and cookies for Snoop?
That's the cleaner version.
That's the cleaner. Oh, okay. All right. There's a dirty version of it. I guess I'm a little behind the times.
Really dirty. I mean, yeah, you put a joint in a a beer out from or something. Yeah.
All right. Well, have yourselves a good weekend, guys. And remember, look, I say all the time, hard times are coming, but they're not here yet. So have a good weekend. You don't have to have a Snoop milk and cookies kind of weekend if you don't want to, whatever's your thing, but spend some time with family. Enjoy these times, because there will come a time very soon for a lot of you where you wish you had your current set of problems. So make the most of this. Enjoy the good times while they're here. Tough times are ahead, folks. And everybody, I just want to say thank you so much to all my Blue Wrenches and for everybody for having your Friday afternoon commute with us here on Nobody Special Finance. Thank you guys, my moderators, for keeping things neat and tidy in the chat. Thank you for all the super chats. You guys are awesome. Thank you to my channel members and my Patreon supporters. Links down below to all that good stuff. Everybody, till next time. Wait. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Love you guys. Almost forgot that one. Till next time, live small and dream big.